sin and death. What the law was powerless to do because human nature made it so weak, God did, by sending the only begotten in the likeness of sinful flesh as a sin offering, thereby condemning sin in the flesh. In this way, the just demands of the law could be fulfilled in us, who live in the Spirit. The mind of the flesh is death, but that of the Spirit is life and peace. The mind of the flesh stands in opposition to God. It is not subject to God's law. Indeed, it cannot be, since those who are in the flesh cannot please God. But you are not in the flesh. You are in the Spirit, since the Spirit of God dwells in you. But those who do not have the Spirit of Christ do not belong to Christ. Amen. Thank you. So as I was saying, at Major Heights, we are going through the writings of Paul, and we are learning together, pastor included, about Paul, a writer of the good portion of the New Testament, and about the context in which he was the misunderstandings or misinterpretations of Paul's epistles have left upon our culture. And as a guide on this journey that we're taking, we are going through the Sarah Rudin's book, Paul Among the People. And what makes her book a little different from many is that she is an interpreter of classical Greek literature rather than a Bible scholar. And so she's able to offer us a lot of context regarding what was going on in the wider culture in the time and place when Paul was. And so as someone who loves stories in all their forms, I love books, I love poetry, I love stories that are told to me, which is probably why I enjoy being a spiritual director, and I love the stories on the small and the big screen. And I had a whole host of movies that I felt added something to the ongoing conversation that is our faith, but God in the movies, and I had all these answers, and it just reminded me that God is just speaking to us everywhere at all times through all forms, including the media. And so you'll have to forgive me that in the end, I ended up watching a movie that had been on my to-watch list that just grows and grows, and I don't watch a whole lot of television and movies. So I add, about 5 movies, and I watch one of them, so it's a never-ending list. Watch it because it's an absolutely gorgeous film. Watch it because it's an absolutely gorgeous film. Of course, it has subtitles. It also just has this beautiful dialogue. It has a beautiful message. It has wonderful acting. And of course, it has subtitles. It also just has this beautiful dialogue. It has a beautiful message. It has wonderful acting. The cinematography is wonderful, and it has this beautiful cinematography is wonderful, and it has this beautiful coastal backdrop throughout the movie. And some of you may be familiar with this, especially if you're of a certain age, like on this island. And Martin especially is courted by a Swedish cavalry officer and nephew of one of those congregants, Lawrence, who ends up banished to the island by his father for his wayward ways, especially those ways that end up with him accruing a slew of gambling debts. So Lawrence was a soprano voice and offers to become her tutor, falling madly in love with her in the process. And when he is also rebuffed, Chile also leaves the island brokenhearted, but renewed spirit and inspired by this small and devout community of believers. So time marches on, city and devotion grows more and more stale and monotonous as the years go by, and it looks like it may go on like this forever when one day a mysterious stranger appears at the door. And thus enters Babette. Sent to the sisters by their home at Chile, Philippa's suitor, all these years later, after her husband and his son are killed during a crackdown, and was miraculously transforming things on even less money than before. And her joy and zest for life seemed to brighten everything around her, and was miraculously transforming things on even less money than before. And her joy and zest for life seemed to brighten everything around her, but not enough to erase the community's growing conflicts. And then she settles into her new life. Her only connection to her former life in France is the annual lottery. The more and more exotic ingredients arrive from France, the whole community begins to fear succumbing to the sin of gluttony. It's a great part of the movie because these wagons come through and the ingredients get more and more exotic as it goes along, and pretty soon there's like a cow's head. And the cultures in which those languages are spoken are very different. So the flesh to Paul refers to has more to do with how we use our bodies for actions that cause harm to our community. In condemnation, God gives us charis, as Paul writes in the Greek, this free gift that is often translated into English as grace. A loving power and presence through this life and in to elevate them spiritually, and a sort of mystical redemption takes place. So at the end of the meal, Lawrence stands and delivers the following spontaneous speech. He says, "Mercy and truth have met together. Righteousness and bliss shall kiss one another.